Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my living room. I think we've gone on a little bit of a tour of the house. The past few, we were in the backyard, the other living room with the fireplace. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And then, yeah, now we're back where we started. So today's video, I want to talk about something that I get a lot of questions on, and I actually was just talking with a close friend of mine about. So we kind of combine her exact questions and then just the general gist of it. So we're basically talking about crash dieting. So a friend of mine was recently on a all shakes diet. It was like I don't know, some company that it's like a weight loss kind of supplement where you drink nothing but shakes instead of eating food. And basically it just controls your calories and that's how you lose weight off it. So she lost something, it was like 18 pounds, I think, off the first like month and a half of it, which sounds great in theory, but this is the problem. She's asking how to get off of it without regaining all the weight because she feels like crap. She's barely eating. I think she's eating like 800 calories a day, which just to put in perspective, even like the smallest person someone like a woman who's like 5 feet, weighs 95 pounds, they probably need at least like 1,000, probably closer to like 1,200 if they're a little active, just to maintain their body weight. So that's pretty low end. And on the opposite end of that, you would have like athletes who are way over 200 pounds eating like 4,000 calories a day. So just put it in perspective, 800 is very, very small. So let's talk about what might be happening after a crash diet, or what happens during a crash diet, and then what happens after it as well. So I drew this horrendous graph. I felt like back in third grade here, but I don't have a whiteboard or anything. I'll get one. But for the time being, let's just use this. So look at that. Look at that handwriting too. Speaking of third grade. All right. So what do we got here? Let me center this for you. Okay. So crash dieting effects, how to avoid a rebound. So on our one axis here, we've got your metabolic rate. Below we have time. And then our three factors we're looking at are green, metabolic rate. Orange is your body weight either being lost or gained. And then in purple, we have our food intake. So when you're starting out with your crash diet, obviously this is just your normal life. Everything's pretty high. You got some weight to lose. Your metabolic rate's humming along there, and then your food intake is pretty high. Obviously, you haven't dieted yet. So let's start food intake. You you just that plummets with your crash diet. Also, along with that, go your weight and your metabolic rate. You're feeling pretty good. You've lost a lot of weight, but obviously you're not going to crash diet forever, so you go back to eating. Most people, the main issue is most people go back to doing whatever led them to being overweight in the first place, but let's assume you don't do that. Let's assume you just go back to what you would believe to be a healthy diet, and this is the frustration of crash dieting. So you go back, your food intake is nowhere near what it used to be, right? So you go back to normal, but you're not kind of binging on food. It's a miracle I can even shave. I can barely look into mirrors and tell where I'm pointing. Look at this. This is pitiful. All right. So the issue is when you return to eating normally, your metabolic rate stays depressed for a longer time period. And that's for a number of reasons. Primary ones are just the hormonal response to crash dieting. So I won't get into it too far, but there's a few hormones that are responsible, just right off the top of my head, like T3, T4, and leptin. They're responsible for your metabolic rate. And slashing your caloric intake, and then also in response to your plummeting body weight, these become much, much lower. And what they're responsible for is basically what the processes in your body are, which make up your metabolic rate. So if they're really low, and they stay very low because they don't adjust anywhere near as quickly as you turn the light switch of, all right, I'm going to eat a bunch more now. What happens is you've got this low metabolic rate that is kind of slugging along here. You've got this weight gain that is happening at an accelerated pace, even though you're eating significantly less. Look at this again. Eating significantly less than you were, and you kind of had your return to normal here. And as you can see, pretty shitty. So you're eating less than you were before, you're gaining weight back, and your metabolic rate is still super low. So that is why, in a nutshell, you don't want to crash diet. Crash dieting is a nightmare because you're trading about a month's worth of results for like a lifetime's worth of frustration. And if you don't know how to get back out of that, it's going to be miserable, and you're going to be even more kind of disappointed and frustrated than you were when you started the crash diet in the first place. So, obvious answer for general people watching this: don't crash diet. Just don't do it. It's stupid. Just accept that it's going to take a while to lose the weight that you've put on over the years, and set like a reasonable deficit. So find out what it takes to maintain your body weight. There's a lot of online calculators just off the top of my head. Usually somewhere between like 13 and 15 times your body weight in pounds is going to be how many calories you need a day to maintain. That's really a rough estimate. Easiest way to do it is to track what you're eating with like an app like a MyFitnessPal, or I know the online group Fitocracy has a like diet tracker, something like that, and kind of chart your weight at the same time. So see what it takes to maintain what you weigh, see what it takes to drop what you weigh, gain weight, whatever. So, and then from there you would set like a reasonable deficit, like 300, 400, 500 calories. 500 is a little on the sharper end. A few hundred calories under what it takes to maintain your weight, and just kind of steadily lose weight from there. Be active, be healthy, and yeah, it's almost too simple. That's why no one will do it. Really, the only issue is willpower and just kind of getting in the habit of changing your habits. All right, so that doesn't help the reason I made this, which was for my friend. So you've already crash dieted. You can't just say, oh, well, I'll just go back to normal because of the obvious reasons we just talked about. So what can you do? Your goal is going to be something called reverse dieting, which sounds really complicated. Not really, it's just 2 words. But basically you want to reverse diet, and you're not going to just go back to, unfortunately, if you're dieting at like 800 calories a day, you can't go back to like even a normal dieting process. So what you want to do is bump that up like 200, 300 calories, figure out if you're gaining weight off that. You are going to gain a little weight back. It's just pretty much unavoidable. But you don't have to gain all the weight back that you lost. So that's the good news. And what you really want to do is very, very slowly increase the amount of food you're eating so that your metabolic rate can kind of adjust as you're coming up. So you don't have this massive spike in food intake, and you won't have that massive weight gain. So you might regain a couple pounds, which isn't that big a deal. I really don't worry about that sort of thing. The good news is if you do this intelligently, you gradually start eating more over time, you're going to be able to rebuild your metabolic rate so you can eat a lot and still maintain some weight loss. And actually, once you get that back humming along, you can go back to normal dieting, and it'll work pretty well for you. So my recommendation would be figure out whatever that crash diet you were on had you at as far as like calorie intake. Eat a little bit more than that, because obviously you don't need to lose any more weight at this point. And even if you did, you can't just keep slashing from there to lose weight. So it's not going to work. So we have to start eating a little bit more over time. Wait till you get to a reasonable level where you're like, all right, I'm pretty comfortable eating this amount per day. And then if you really want to lose weight again, kind of ease back down a little bit and kind of revert to that plan I had for people who I said don't crash diet in the first place. All right, hope that answers your questions. Hope that gives you a little insight into why crash dieting is a bad idea. And if you have any questions on it, go ahead and post them in the comments below or on the side, and I'll explain it. It's honestly, this is a little bit more complicated than I presented it in here. I just didn't want to make like a 30-minute video. It's already ran on a little longer than I'd like. So yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of questions people might have on this, and feel free to ask them, and I'll be sure to answer them right off the bat for you. All right, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon. Hope you're enjoying your week.